Corey was a Freshmen band, and they're going to be playing 2 tunes for you tonight. First called Metro Dance. And my wife was telling me, like, Tim, you should always give a little explanation of the piece so the audience knows what they're listening to. So 20 years, happy wife, happy life. I love this composer. Grider and I, always when we see Randall Standridge by the composer box on JW Pepper, we're like, this is at least going to be decent. Because he just understands the formula of a developing band. Making it challenging, but not too challenging, making it attainable, and also incorporating really good musical ideas. So Metro Dance, I don't want to give you too much on it, but just think of like a soundscape of like a busy city, like LA, Chicago, New York. And there's going to be times you're right in the middle of 5 o'clock rush hour, and there's going to be times you're in your like 500 square foot apartment listening to drag racers off in the distance. It's a really effective piece, features many different instruments in the band, and we think you'll enjoy it. Here's Metro Dance. two things. I'm talking about the band, and I'm talking about the next piece. First of all, with the band, it's a special class. I've been at Seaholm a long, long time. It's the smallest class we've ever had incoming as freshmen. Shh. And if you rewind the tape, you'll be reminded that these guys started their instruments virtually. And I am a flippin' band director, and I honestly think if I had to start my clarinet back in whatever year that was, virtually, I would have quit. I wouldn't have made it. And these kids did. And the fact that next year we have a freshman class that's twice their size makes me a little nervous because it's a lot of kids that don't know what the hell they're doing. But these kids do. And these kids have developed tremendously over the course of the school year. So it makes me and Grider feel a little bit of confidence. Like, we have 20 seniors graduating. So the next year's freshman class will be the biggest class we have. That's exciting because it means things are on the upward swing finally. But it's also nerve-wracking because you got to think in September, those of you that are parents that have gone through this, we have to put a band on the field that's going to be a big chunk freshmen and eighth graders, which is scary. But with these kids as sophomores, I feel better about that because they, like I said, grit, tenacity, they've got all that, and they improved. So New York, New York, you all know this, okay? I was thinking of this on the way in driving today, which I have a great story to tell you later on in the concert about that. I was thinking of there's this bowling alley in Berkeley that's also a karaoke bar. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? What's it called? Yes, yes. So if you were to go there anytime the week before Christmas, you would see that me and my friends all had an outing. And if you're lucky enough to be there on that night, this is my go-to karaoke tune. So they're obviously going to do better than Tim Seaboard with a few ginger ales singing New York, New York. But it's still a great tune. Once again, popularized, like our opening jazz band number by Mr. Frank Sinatra. We hope you enjoy New York, New York. Always got to make sure you can see the drum. Ready?